People want live sport where they don't know what's going to happen.
Of all the top order batsmen, the highest career average, test average right now is 34. That is not significant.
Cricket is back. England versus West Indies. The series is coming up. We have some live cricket to preview, which is something that we've all been counting down towards. Alzarri Joseph says he sees this tour as an opportunity to get his team higher up in the rankings. That's what he said to the media in the week. And of course, that is up for grabs here. But you kind of have to feel like there's probably a bit more at stake. This has to be close to one of the the most watched, eagerly anticipated, series in the modern history of the game. Nasser Hussain, do you think there's a bit more going on here than just the result?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for the players, obviously, they're going to be concerned with the result. That's what you should do as an international cricketer representing your country. But the bigger picture is that the world is watching. We've seen Premier League kick off here in England, and it's had some success. Luckily, touch wood, there hasn't been any incidents. We've seen some tennis tournaments kick off that's had a lot of incidents, and we've seen some golf kick off where a few of the golfers and caddies have got the virus and they've had to just drag it back a little bit. So all eyes will be on cricket, but from what I've seen from the ECB, the procedures that they've put in place and the lengths they've gone to get this series underway have truly been mind-boggling. I mean, Steve Elworthy, I think he's already an MBE. I think he deserves a knighthood for what he's done in getting this on. The Ageas Bowl is a biosecure environment. Old Trafford is a biosecure environment. And the others I have to pay real credit to are the West Indies Cricket Board and team and the Pakistan Cricket Board and team. You know, to travel to England with all the facts and figures, if you can picking up your paper in Barbados or going online or wherever in Pakistan, and you see the figures of death in the UK and how much it's affected the BAME community, are you willing to jump on a plane and come over here and play cricket? And they have done. Great credit to those two cricketing nations to give it a go because they have seen the bigger picture.
Of course, Bish, the West Indies players had the option to opt out of this. The guys who decided to come, what would winning this series mean?
It would be huge because when you put into context, the West Indies haven't won us here in England for something like 32 years. It was 1988 the last time they won. They drew two series after that, which Nasser and many fans will obviously be aware of in 91, I think 95. So that tells you the magnitude of the task. And then you take into consideration what Nasser has said there, the current climate of the global pandemic and the risks to so many lives. Not to mention, can cricket be played safely in accordance with the new policies and rules? So all the eyes of the cricketing landscape will be on this series. There's no other cricket going on.
People want live sport where they don't know what's going to happen. They want the sort of, you just don't know when that first ball is going to go down. You don't know if Brathwaite or Hope or Broad or Anderson, who's going to be Stokes, who's going to be the star of the 5 days ahead, and that is live sport.
Yeah, it's better than any kind of reality TV out there. Ian Bishop, talk to us about what we've seen from the West Indies. They've had some action in the warm-ups. What has impressed you so far? Alzarri Joseph, a name that I've just mentioned, he took 6 wickets in that first warm-up game.
Well, I think the bowling, as many of us knew before, certainly many of us in the Caribbean, were aware that the fast bowling in particular does come with a lot of teeth in Jason Holder, who's been bowling well and batting well, to be fair, as an all-round cricketer, generally doing his thing over the last couple of seasons. Shannon Gabriel, thank goodness, has proven his fitness once again. We hope, fingers crossed, that with his pace that he can sustain that. And then you've got Kemal Roach, who has progressively put himself into the top echelons of seam bowling across the last, since 2017 when he returned to the West Indies team here in the UK. And then in the wings, you've got a young, exciting fast bowler in Shamar Holder, Alzari Joseph. So that fast bowling has teeth. The real question mark is about the West Indies batting, where I think of all the top order batsmen, the highest career average, test average right now is 34. That is not significant. So it is a chance for that batting to step up, but the fast bowling is where we're really going to be looking at to make big inroads on this tour.
And in that batting lineup, who do you think, if you had to make a prediction on who looks like they might shape up to be the hero, particularly as we head into the first test? Have you got any ideas, any predictions you'd like to make?
The batting element, I'll stay away from predictions, because even though the West Indies did brilliantly in defeating England in the Caribbean, there was always a question mark about the top order batting, the stats of Roston Chase, of Shea Hope, Craig Brathwaite. Both of those players I spoke of latterly there scored hundreds at Headingley. In Shea Hope's case, twin hundreds in 2017, the last time the West Indies were here. Brathwaite has been here for a couple of tours now. Jermaine Blackwood is back in the fold. He had a decent tour the last time the West Indies came here, third highest run scorer for the West Indies. So everyone has got to chip in. The way that they've batted in the last couple of years, I wouldn't pinpoint a single person to say he's going to go out there and do a Viv Richards or a Gordon Greenwich or a Joe Root and dominate a series. I'm looking for those guys to chip in. Shane and Jason Holder, the all-rounders down that lower mid-order who've been brilliant over the last couple of years, to continue doing their thing, a whole team performance.
Now, it's interesting because they're playing two tests at the one and one at the other. Let's talk about these venues. You mentioned players and how they perform in these specific venues. But would England prefer the one over the other? And the same goes for you, Bish. Does the West Indies have a favourite between these two grounds, Old Trafford and the Ageas Bowl?
The two pitches in general are good, quick pitches. They are in Ageas Bowl and Old Trafford. If you historically look at them, fast bowlers like it there, batsmen like it there, and even spinners like it there. The ball of the century or whatever from Shane Warne was at Old Trafford, because you get bounce at Old Trafford and you get bounce at the Ageas Bowl. So I think there'll be good cricket pitches. Groundsmen haven't done, they won't be tired pitches, that is for certain, because groundsmen haven't done anything for 6 months, 9 months in England. So they are generally good pitches. The other thing to put in the equation is the Duke's ball does move around. Anderson, the king of swing, is back, but they're not allowed to shine the ball with saliva, so they've got to work out ways of keeping one side of that ball shiny and get it to swing. How will that affect someone like Jason Holder, whose stats are absolutely magnificent in the last couple of years? So that is a little bit into the unknown, how the COVID rules will affect the movement of that cricket ball.
I don't know that the West Indies would necessarily have a preference, simply because they've been practicing. I suppose they've been practicing a lot at Old Trafford, so they've become more familiar with that facility. That's the only thing I can think about. But if there's bounce at Old Trafford, they might enjoy that. But the West Indies, the key thing they'll be hoping for is for the sun to come out. I think that will be the significant thing, where there might be a little bit of reverse swing. Yes, there'll be spin, but the West Indies have a couple of guys in their armory. Roston Chase, tall off-spinning all-rounder. Joaquin Cornwall is here. He might become a cult figure even further across the cricketing landscape by the time this tour is finished. So, no, I don't necessarily think the West Indies will say, well, we prefer here over there.
Of course, the number 1 and number 2 ranked test all-rounder Stokes and Holder, both in action. It does seem fitting for this to be the way we return, and I'm sure Stokes won't be put off by the additional responsibility of captaincy, and then this meaty prospect of perhaps giving Jason a go for that ranking spot. Do you think this is the kind of thing, just what Stokes need at this stage of his career, Nasser?
Yeah, I didn't think of it like that, actually, because that will be number 1 and number 2, and they will both be, I don't know how they're doing the coin toss either, but they'll be both out there in the middle as captains. And Jason obviously has a lot more experience. I think Jason Holder is a hugely impressive individual, I have to say. The way he's handled everything since landing, before landing here in the UK, and even before that, the way he's handled the captaincy has been phenomenal. And I think Jason goes under the radar a little bit. If you ask people out there in world cricket who's the number one ranked all-rounder in Test cricket, a lot of people will be shouting Stokes, etc. But actually it is Jason Holder, even with all the things that Ben did last summer. It'll be interesting to see how Ben Stokes, as a one-off, I think it's an excellent idea, Ben Stokes taking over. There'll be such loyalty to Joe Root. There's such pride. He'll play in the same sort of style. It won't affect him. In a long-term thing, I have my concerns, making your best player or as captain, making your all-rounder as captain. You look at Botham and Flintoff before. It doesn't work sometimes. They have so much on their plate. Ben plays in all three formats. He does all three things in those formats. He bats, he bowls, he's one of the gun fielders in any positions. And Ben does everything at 100 miles an hour. So you put all that in the pot and then put the burden of captaincy on him on a long term where the mental pressures and strain gets to you, then there might be a problem. But as a one-off to take over from Joe Root, I think it's a great move.
Can I push you for a prediction? I know Ian Bishop is always loath, but can I get a series prediction from you, Nasser Hussain?
Well, I'll tell you what, one thing I will say is that history tells you, be careful writing off this West Indies side. There are a few recently that have made fools of themselves, saying, oh, we will hammer the West Indies. I think the West Indies need to get some runs to be in this series. Hope and Brathwaite need to do a Headingley all over again, because even though England have a fragility in their batting at the top, they are used to these conditions, those lads. So I think West Indies need to get runs. I'd slightly favour England. England are a very difficult side to beat at home, but don't rule out a Jason Holder side.
Predictions tend to hamper my job when I start working, so I tend to stay away from that. Look, there are tangibles there for us to cope with. I think because the two leading all-rounders are the captains, that gives each team a target to go at. If you can go at Ben Stokes and dishevel the leader, dishevel his game, then you start out with a plus point. And that first test is ultra important, because England, because they've grown up all their lives and played here, they will eventually get back into gear and the engines will start purring again. But if you can catch slightly cold, that's why I'm looking at the first 3-4 days of this test match, however long it goes from a West Indies perspective, to see whether their engine can start clicking first.
Start clicking first. That's the advice, West Indies fans. That's what we should be hoping for. Thank you so much for joining us, Nasser Hussain. It was lovely to have you share some of your insight and phenomenal knowledge and experience. And then Ian Bishop, thank you so much for your time again. Enjoy the rest of your tour in England.